Hello everyone, let's look at how to detect a sequence of failed sudo commands with Log360. To understand why sudo command failures are concerning, let's first understand what sudo commands are and how they can be used and misused. Sudo, which stands for super user do, is a command line utility used in Unix-like operating systems such as Linux and Mac OS to allow a permitted user to execute commands with the privileges of another user, typically the super user or the root account. The root account has unrestricted control over the system, allowing it to perform any action, including modifying system files, installing or removing software, and managing user accounts. Instead of giving users unrestricted access to the root account, which can be a security risk, sudo enables regular users in the admin group to temporarily acquire administrative privileges for specific tasks like installation of certain applications without needing to log in as the root user. This prevents unauthorized access and limits potential damage. The sudo command is crucial for system administration and security as it allows users to perform tasks that require elevated privileges while maintaining a level of control and auditing. System administrators define sudo permissions and settings so they can be properly used. If these settings are misconfigured, sudo commands can be exploited to perform malicious activities, specifically privilege escalation on the network. These malicious activities can be done by both rogue insiders or attackers who have found their way into the network. Let's see how an attacker does this. Sudo command exploitation typically begins when an attacker gains access to a system through various means such as exploiting vulnerabilities or leveraging weak credentials. Once inside the network, the attacker operates under a low-privileged user account. The attacker then assesses the current user's permissions to understand what sudo privileges they have. The attacker then examines the sudo configuration to determine which commands they can execute. They might exploit vulnerabilities or misconfigurations and run multiple sudo commands to elevate permissions and perform malicious tasks. The misuse of sudo commands by threat actors can only be thwarted by monitoring sudo command execution on the network. For this to be really effective, it's crucial not only to monitor executed sudo commands but also to track and analyze failed sudo attempts, especially when there are multiple failed attempts. This is because frequent failed sudo commands could mean that someone is trying to perform actions for which they don't have permissions. This may be an indicator of a compromised account or an unauthorized user attempting to gain higher privileges through automated malicious scripts. Also, attackers might be probing for sudo misconfigurations or vulnerabilities by repeatedly trying different commands. They do this to identify any weaknesses that could be exploited to gain elevated access. In some cases, repeated failed sudo commands might be part of an attempt to enumerate valid user accounts to understand the privileges these accounts have. Let's now see how Log360 detects this repeated sudo command failure. Log360 is a unified SIEM solution that offers pre-packaged threat detection capabilities that help detect a range of commonly occurring threats. Once you log into the solution, you can navigate to the SIEM module or the Event Log Analyzer module and then to the Correlation tab at the top. On the left, you can view all predefined correlation reports. In the search bar, you can enter sudo and this pulls up the repeated failed sudo commands report. This shows you all failed attempts to execute sudo commands on the network. We will come back to examine this information in more detail in just a moment. Let's first understand how Log360 detected this threat. Log360 comes with predefined rules which look for a set of events that occur sequentially and indicate a possible threat. To understand how this rule is configured, navigate to Manage Rule and look for the name of the rule in the search bar. This pulls up the pre-configured detection rule to detect failed sudo commands. By clicking on Copy Correlation Rule, you can view how the rule is configured. As you can see, the rule is triggered when there are 3 or more failed attempts to run a sudo command from the same user account and on the same device. In addition, all of this should have happened within a duration of 5 minutes. Since a legitimate administrator possesses valid credentials to configure sudo settings properly, it's likely that these failed attempts are the work of an attacker looking to elevate privileges. We can now return to the pre-built report in Log360. Here you can view all failed instances of sudo command execution. Clicking on Event Timeline allows you to view the series of failed sudo command executions. By clicking on Details, you can refer to the message field to understand what command the attacker was trying to execute. This will provide some insight into what the attacker was trying to do on the network. Now here are some next steps to take if you notice a sequence of failed sudo commands. By using Log360's predefined reports, you can proactively look for all sudo command executions, including commands that were successfully executed. This data can be helpful to investigate and verify if these executions were legitimate or if the attacker finally managed to escalate their privileges. This information can be found under the report category called sudo commands. You can use Log360's SOAR capabilities to disable computers and user accounts associated with illegitimate sudo command executions. Review user privileges to identify who has access to run sudo commands. Make changes as needed by following the principle of least privilege. As always, standard protective measures like patching all your software on time can reduce the chances of attackers gaining access to the network in the first place. Preaching safe cybersecurity practices on a regular basis to all employees will ultimately contribute to a well-defended network. Thank you for watching this video. For further queries, you can send us an email at log360-support@manageengine.com. You can also download a free version of a solution at the link provided. At no cost and zero risk, you can try Log360 in your environment for 30 days.